What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. This is the second episode of I f***ed up, but I'm gonna fix it. In the last video, y'all got to see me do a full panel replacement, and I explained to you what we are going after with this new paint scheme. We're kind of trying to make it look like this hood a little bit, and also look like it just broke atmosphere. So we're going after this comet look. Let's get it. First things first, to get this truck looking like a comet, we gotta get destructive. You're gonna go ahead and get you some 600, 800, and 1000 grit sandpaper, and you're going to begin wet sanding in the, pattern that you want your panels to look like. You're gonna use the 600 to really get deep into that primer that comes on the panel so that you can really get the lines in there. After you get it cut deep enough, then you're gonna use the 800 to kind of get it to fade back. After the fact, you're going to use the 1000 to do an even lighter scuff, but still reveal just a little bit of the metal, but not quite all the way through that factory primer that, again, was already on the panel. And a lot of y'all are probably asking yourself, or asking the screen, whatever, why are you not just going in and repainting the whole truck? Well, simply because I cannot afford a $6,000 paint job to get this thing recoated the whole way through. And honestly, if I just tried to match these panels, it's never going to match the red that was already on the truck. So we are going to keep with this comet look. Now that we got the passenger side looking good and all scuffed up, at least to a good, decent standard, let's move on to the driver's side. You're going to do the exact same thing. Get you your 600, your 800, and your 1000 grit sandpaper. Go ahead and get to wet sanding and start getting that design on the panels. The best way to achieve this look is to really pay attention to the high spots that are on the panel. You need to hit the high spots first, because obviously with physics, if you were driving at this speed and somehow this actually happened to your paint, the first thing to go is gonna be the high spots. So hit the high spots, go back, add you some extra scuffs in, and then you should have a pretty good looking faux patina on the vehicle. Now let's take a look at what that streaky finish looks like after you get done sanding it down and giving it that faux patina look. But speaking of faux patina, patina is not patina without a little bit of rust. So what are we gonna do? We gotta get some rust on these scuffed up panels to get them looking a little extra old. You can actually create rust at home with 3 simple household ingredients. You're gonna use 14 ounces of white distilled vinegar, 4 ounces of hydrogen peroxide, and 1 cup of salt mixed up into a spray bottle. This creates something called peracetic acid, and honestly, y'all, it will eat through pretty much anything, so be very careful when you're applying this. But now we can take a look at something rusting in 20 seconds. All you're gonna do is take the spray bottle and apply this solution to whatever you want to rust, and it will pretty much happen within like 5 minutes. It is super easy, and honestly, it's really cool to see. Now that it's actually rusting up a little bit, we can take a look at what it is post-rust. It gives it a little bit of an orange hue, just puts a little bit of surface rust on it, and it gives it that patina look. Now that we've got it scuffed up just a hair, we are going to head on over down to Lunar Customs to see my buddy Brian in Dallas, Georgia, to get this paint fade going just a little bit better so that it actually looks like a comet and it all blends together. This is what we're working with to begin. So the actual plan here is to take red paint, match it to the doors, and fade it forward just a hair, scuff it back down, make the black look like it's eating into the red, and it will give you that look as if a comet just broke atmosphere, or Papa's old Chevy just broke atmosphere, because you know this thing is so stinking fast. However, before we get to painting, there is some prep work that's needed. I'm gonna have to sand down some of the section on top of the hood to ensure that the paint actually sticks, and then we can actually get into spraying the red on and getting this fade going. I've got to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you. I can't thank him enough, but Brian at Lunar Customs came through on trying to get this patina job done, the fade job, because Lord knows I have no idea how to paint. This man has taught me so much on how to paint, how it cures, how it works, the whole 9 yards. And the experience that I got here in this little paint booth and just spraying a little red here and there on the front of the fenders was freaking phenomenal. This man knows what he's doing, and he is on par with everything he does. But anyways, now we can get to the actual process of getting the paint applied to this vehicle. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the video, I showed you a little mock-up of what we were gonna do, and it kind of gave you an idea that we may be spraying black about midway through the cab. you know, instead of doing that and screwing it up completely, totally, we are just going to fade it forward instead, make the red match, and then I'm going to scuff it down and make sure that that black really eats into the red so it looks like that the red was taken off by the heat when, you know, this truck decided to come through the atmosphere and destroy them dinosaurs. Now, after watching the red getting applied, you may notice that the hood doesn't really match the fenders too well in terms of that comet design. And that's a little bit of an issue, but it's not a huge issue because we are going to get that resolved. It's not a problem at all, I promise. Y'all just stay tuned. This is gonna be freaking awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and get the red sanded down. We're gonna get it looking like it just broke atmosphere, and then we can address the actual hood situation. And to do this, you don't need the same sandpaper like we did before. All you're gonna need is a scuff pad to do this, like a little blending pad. You can knock that out, no problem. But as you can see, these fenders, they look freaking phenomenal, but the hood, it's a little bit off. So we need to readdress the situation with the hood. So now it is time to get destructive again. We are going to go in, we're going to strip this whole hood down, we're going to paint it back black, and then we're going to scuff it to actually match the fenders perfectly. The way I went in to strip this hood, I basically used the solution that I made at home that causes rust. I dumped it all over, and then I used a pressure washer to strip any kind of material that was already on the hood off. And then we went back inside and we hit it with a sander to get it back down to bare metal. Now, if you've made it this far in the video and you are still listening to me rambling on about how to get this patina job going, you need to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that like button, the comment button. Let me know what you think, how it's going, all the above. Share it with a friend. Make sure you do that. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. You can keep up with all things Papa's Old Customs. That's what we do. And as y'all can see, we are in fact ripping the red paint that we just sprayed right back off the hood, because logically speaking, in terms of physics, if this thing actually was to have went through the atmosphere and, you know, destroyed the dinosaurs, like I said before, the whole hood would have been burnt up, and the red that is actually on the high spots on this cowl would have been non-existent. So we are just gonna go back all the way black and leave just the red on the fenders. Now that we've got the pressure washing out of the way and the hood is dry, we can get down to business. It is time to start sanding and time to get this thing down to bare metal. The reason we're actually having to take it down to bare metal all the way is because of the amount of surface rust that was on it. Anytime you're about to paint a surface, you want to make sure that it is perfectly smooth. A great rule of thumb, Brian's rule of thumb specifically, if you can feel it, you are going to be able to see it. So make sure when you are sanding, you get any kind of crud that may be on the surface off of it. You want it completely smooth before you go in to actually start painting. So we did exactly that. We got it sanded down perfectly, we got it extra clean, and now we can go back and paint it with primer black. Now, the reason that we are going back with primer black on the hood is because primer black is what comes on your fenders when you buy them brand new from Auto Metal Direct. Now, if you've got any questions about the fenders, the process of rebuilding the front of this truck, where I got the fenders from, who Auto Metal Direct is, any of that good stuff, you need to be sure to check out episode 1 when you get finished watching this episode in the series, and I will give you all of that in that episode. But now you can see the hood is pretty much being wrapped up. We're getting the last coat on it of the black primer, and then we can finally get down to scuffing to get this thing to look more like a comet and actually match those beautiful fenders. Once the paint finally dried, we could go in and start scuffing again, just like I did on the fenders to begin with. You're gonna follow the exact same process. The only difference here is we actually used a sander instead of our bare hands to make the process just a little bit faster. Now, just like on the fenders when we scuffed before, we're gonna hit all of those high spots first so that we can get a perfectly defined look out of the panel that we're messing with, in particular this hood. Now, you can also hit these high spots by hand. It's not an issue at all to do it by hand. It is just a lot faster and a lot more efficient to do it with an actual sander. When we started to do it by hand, it was just taking way too long. I'm assuming because this paint was so fresh, it was a pain. So the sander really came in clutch here. Once you get all the high spots hit and you are happy with it, then you can move on to the wet sanding process. We did the exact same thing here that I did to the fenders. All we did was take some sandpaper, some soap and water, and give it a few scuff marks to really give it that Comet style look so that it would match the fenders, perfectly. And when you are doing this, you want to apply pressure a little bit differently in each spot. You really want to give it pressure at the front of the mark, and then you kind of want to ease up a little bit towards the back so that it gives it that true streaky finish as if like a rock or something were to actually have hit it and, scuffed past it. Now that we've got this hood looking dang good, we can start adding the rust solution to the hood. Make sure if you are planning on doing this, do not soak the entire hood in this solution, because if you've got fresh paint on it, you're probably going to destroy that paint. We want to only add the solution to the bare metal spots that need the surface rust on them, and that is it. And the way we did it here to avoid total destruction was simply just touch the spots that we needed, wiped it off, put some more, wiped it off, put some more, and that was it. But after we got the hood looking how we wanted it to look, we got the truck back together, and y'all, it looks sick. It is time to finally get a clear coat on it. Y'all stay tuned for part 3 where we get a full clear coat job from Poppy's Patina on the front end of this truck. Remember to share, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let's get ready for the next one.